What's going on, guys? Bladezilla here, and today we are taking a look at this super sweet new knife from Shirogorov. It's a collaboration piece with Scott Cook. It has been in the works now for, I believe, over 2 years, and we were lucky enough to get a spot in the lottery. So super excited to show you this knife and talk about it. I don't know how long this video is going to be today, but I imagine if history is any indicator on the future, it's probably a longer video. So I apologize in advance if this does go on and drag on, but I am really excited to show this piece, as there's just a lot of unique features kind of to this knife, and haven't really gone over it too much. I've got some fingerprints on this one, and I'm excited to add more fingerprints and kind of get up and close and personal with it. So sit down, relax, grab a cup of coffee, grab a Coke, a whiskey, a beer, whatever time of day it is, and hopefully we can enjoy this one together. So let's crack this open and take a look and kind of get started on the process of looking at the Russian Lochsa from Shirogorov. As a reminder, a lot of the knives featured on this YouTube channel are available on my website, bladezilla.ca, which is in Canada, so there you go. Just added some Protex and whatnot. May add another Lochsa at some point here, if I can get one on the secondary, because I am not going anywhere with this one. So keep an eye out on that. But there you go. There's my little shout out for 15 seconds, because that's all I really want to do. Because we're not here about that. We are here about this knife. Oh, where do we even begin? So I guess let's start with, should we go measurements and weight, or should we just get right into storytelling? What do you think? Let's go measurements and weight, and then at least that's out of the way for people that are here for that. Some people love seeing measurements and weight, so let's just get that figured out, and then we'll kind of go off and look at every single inch of this thing. So overall length, we're coming in at 8 and I think 5/8. Is that about right? And I actually have a spec sheet finally beside me, so it says 8.58 inches. So yeah, a little over 8.5. That's about right. Blade length, I'm coming in at 3 3/4, 3 5/8, somewhere in that range, and I think they're coming in at 3/7/4. And handle length, just under 5 inches, maybe 4 7/8, something like that. So there's your 3 standard measurements, and let's grab a weight on this thing. And I don't know, I always find manufacturer weights are kind of all over the place. Sometimes they're accurate, sometimes they're not even close. So, the only thing I can really trust is my own scale, to be honest. So let's see, what do we got here? 5 ounces. And what does the spec sheet say? Doesn't have a weight. So it looks like 5 ounces. 5.0. The Mustang 5.0 of weights. So we are well above the ounces to inches ratio, which is not gonna, let's be honest, piss anybody off. This thing is the frickin' Cybertruck of knives. Just look at it. Tell me that's not a Cybertruck. Gorgeous knife. Super simple. Sometimes less is more. I don't know if you guys have heard the principle, keep it simple, stupid. I think that's what this knife is, but subtly elevated to a whole nother level. Okay, well, let's start the, I guess, conversation around this. Apparently, it's 2 years in the making. I can't remember what version. I think they had two or three. They had a couple full custom prototypes that kind of made the rounds at one point, and highly desirable. I think Scott Cook had one himself, and I think a couple other mutual friends got the others, and they're lock and key. They looked a little different. I think I'm trying to remember here. I thought Shiro was kind of down here on the handle, if that sounds right. I thought it was somewhere here instead of on the blade, which is whatever, but I thought it was down here, which kind of looked a little out of place, and that's fine. And then I guess they settled on the, an S90V blade, which I haven't even mentioned. Stonewash S90V, satin flats, gorgeous bear up top there. I feel like I don't even know where to start with this. Okay, let's start with it in hand. That's the easiest one. So the first thing that I noticed in hand, it fits like a frickin' glove. And, I always have loved, Shiro's kind of take on the way they split the handle here. But this one is different because you've kind of got this 3D milled and contoured handle in the back. And I don't know if that's a Scott Cook thing. And I'm not a Scott Cook connoisseur. I've tried to get some in the past. They are another knife that are very hard to find at a good price. Plain Janes are, I think $4,500 US. And they're gorgeous, well made. The people who love them are super passionate about them. I know some Shiro friends of mine who have authentic customs, and they just say the best things about those knives. Loyal following, and I remember when I saw this, the first thing that kind of came to my mind was like, okay, a Shirogorov Lochsa collaboration. I said, you know what? That knife is going to have so much demand on it. Because just the Scott Cook guys love them. Absolutely love the design. And I can see why. That contouring, the milling, just look at that. I have heard some people talk about how it looks like a Coke bottle. So I can kind of see that. Like an old Coke bottle. I dig it. I have heard people talk about the contouring is just, it fits you like a glove. I have heard about how the detent is just crisp and lock solid. And listen to this thing. It's just crisp, super crisp. Some of the old throwback customs had the flipper tab, and this flipper tab, we'll talk about it, but it looks very different than kind of what you'd expect a Shirogorov flipper tab. With this cover as well, it's kind of tough to see where exactly the pivot is in correlation, so you kind of got to flip it around here, and you can kind of see where that pivot is. And we are well behind that pivot. And I know I've talked about this. We've got a couple special edition collab pieces we'll compare it with today. But that's well behind that pivot, which is all about giving leverage, right? It's putting it into the big gear on the bicycle to add leverage because it's not on bearings. And you'll notice it's not forward facing, it's more of a point down type of flipper tab. So quite different than what we're used to as an overall design. It's just completely different than any Shirogorov we've seen. There's a bushing system in this instead of bearings. Although now that I think about it, I think the prototype, if I recall correctly, I think they were on double row roller bearings. I don't know how they did that, but that would be an interesting conversation in itself to see that knife. 100 pieces worldwide. I have it under good authority that not all 100 pieces made it out of production. So, right there, typically you're cutting that down a little bit. I don't know the exact number, and I won't discuss that, but I have heard there's not all 100 pieces available. From there, you're splitting the lottery between, I believe, Russia and North America. So, take the 100, take I don't know how many off, and then cut that in half and put it into a lottery. I've heard it's one of, if not the highest entered lotteries in recent history as well. So demand for these is just incredible. So much to talk about today. So, let's I guess talk a little bit more about how they kind of put this together. So, as you guys know, it's Shiro's first integral. Okay, integral meaning the handle is milled out of one piece of titanium. A little bit different than a standard Shirogorov with a backspacer or a standoff. It's started its life in a big block, and with that, in manufacturing, and if you remember, I think it was Craig Brown. He made his first integral a few years back, and said it was a nightmare with wastage and tooling. The system itself has its own limitations. So Instead of milling 2/2, putting it together with a back spacer, your costs are a lot lower. This guy, a lot more wastage, a lot more tooling, a lot more time on the machine, and with that comes a higher cost. And I believe the lottery was, I think, 2.4 or 2.5 thousand US net, and that's higher than a custom division knife. And if we look at modern custom division knives, some of which I have beside me, we'll do some comparisons with. You know what? They're going for $6,000 in a lot of cases, 6.5, 5.5, 6, 7, like crazy numbers, and those cost less at table than these. My mind is blown, right? And I had a feeling the upcharge on this would be significant because, it's the material's a lot higher, a lot more expensive produced. The time to mill one of these is a lot higher. Oh boy. Let's take a look at this. So limitations on an integral. Obviously, you can't really do any internal milling on this. And if you look at it, it's kind of just one direction, right? The bit can kind of press down inside this. You can't really skeletonize it. So back to my conversation of 5 ounces, I believe is what it weighed in at. You can't really remove material on the inside like a traditional Shirogorov. So it's smooth on the inside, with the exception of they are individually numbered and stamped, this one being 52, which will never see the light of day. This is going in my case, and this will be mine. So 52 is written on the inside of that, which I'm assuming you've got to line up your milling just right to kind of do that, but you can't really go any deeper than that. And then the lock bar cutout, you can kind of do vertically right into it, and then it looks like they kind of matched it on that other side to put the serial on. So really clever, really, really clever. It runs on a bushing system, bushing and bearing, and most of Scott Cook's stuff is on bushings, phosphor bronze washers. Bushing system being something that kind of, I always think of a DU bushing, something that's pressed into a suspension pivot, where it's like a little barrel that goes inside something that's moving, so that it can't, when you put pressure on it, it can't actually squish the material. So I believe the action on this is independent of how much you tighten it. Which is kind of cool. It's a nice little move. Like I said, though, the other one was on double row roller bearings. I would love to see how they put that together. Very curious more than anything, but super cool nonetheless. The other limitations of an integral. Where do you put your stop pin for your blade? How do you get it in there? Well, that's kind of encased, I believe, under these covers. And let's take a look where that would be. I have no idea. It'll be inside here, around that pivot. But anyway, so you have a stop pin, right? So you have to be able to press in a stop pin inside the frame somewhere, so that the blade has something to push up against. Very difficult to do, and I think Rosenti, I don't know how the hell he does it, but Peter Rosenti actually has a physical pin put inside, so that's pretty unique. So I'm not taking apart this thing, but I know it will have to do something behind these covers. There'll be a stop pin pressed in there, probably between the two of them, I imagine. It's just kind of hidden a little bit in the workings of this. The majority of the Scott Cook stuff has been on washers, with the exception of some customs that were flipper tabs, some of the older ones. And some current ones, but just not as common, which is kind of cool in today's day and age that they're still kind of doing that. Now, the other thing that is a little difficult to do on an integral is actually, you look at this and okay, what do we got going on here? We've got a clip. Well, how does Shirogorov usually attach that clip? Well, they usually attach it internally. Well, how the heck do you get a screw inside there to attach that internally? And if you look underneath this clip, there's no screw heads, right? Because it's not an inset lock, obviously. So it's like, how do they attach that? Well, that all stems from why they put this little braided piece of lanyard on here. And that if you remove this, I haven't seen one, but I'm told if you remove this, you have access to attaching that clip somehow. And at some point we'll maybe look at how that happens. I don't know what that configuration looks like. All I know is that apparently to take this thing apart, it is a bit of an exercise. So pretty cool. And you know, if you're coming from the custom world, you know, anytime you have kind of those hidden features like that where you've got a clip, you can't see how it's attached, I love that level of detail, and I think it's so cool. Aside from the the obvious that it's attached internally, normally Shirogorov does some level of kind of centering on its where do I put this, like their backspacer, to kind of add emphasis to the pivot, or it's not pivot, to the centering and the quality and whatnot. I think it's a little harder to do on this knife, but as you can see, you know, an integral, barring some huge manufacturing flaw, should always be dead center, because you can't really not have those sides lined up because they're perfect right out of the gate. So the only variance that you're going to really see here is probably the hand ground blade length might vary ever so slightly, but this guy, gorgeous, well done, tight tolerances, and incredible. The action being on bronze is just unlike any Shirogorov I've ever had. You know, like, it's smooth, certainly smooth, but it's not as, how do I say this? It's not as bearing-like as you'd expect. Like, it drops halfway, right? But once you put the lock bar on that action, right? See how it doesn't move like a typical Shiro? It's more, it's not CRK feel like whatsoever. It's just a little more soft, a little more soft. But the top of the action is very much like it's on bearings. Like it drops. See? See how smooth that is when you don't have the pressure of the lock bar? It's very smooth. And I imagine it'll break in quite easily. So if you don't have the pressure of the lock bar, it's very, very droppy. But as soon as the lock bar adds pressure, it's phosphor bronze. So just unique action all the way around. The detent as well, very unique. It just floats a little home and then just snaps in. Just really nice and tight. That's what she said. As I said, the Shirogorov bear is on that blade and nicely hidden up there in that satin flat. Looks very nice, and hopefully the camera's able to kind of pick up on that. Right now it's kind of freaking out with all the light. Anytime I've got satin flats and a big floodlight above here, it just bounces into the camera's sensor and freaks it out, which is fine. I'm good for being freaked out every now and then too. Not a problem. Now I also wanted to take a look at the this zone right here. So to me this is very Shiro-esque. See how that lock bar is actually raised? It's raised quite a bit, and the milling on there is exceptional. Like, exceptionally well done. Just look at that. It looks like a fingerprint. Okay, we do have two materials here. I don't know what they are, but there is obviously a replaceable, it looks like a detent ball there that's attached to a lock bar insert, so that will be tunable, I imagine. How you would change that is beyond me, because you'd have to kind of, I'm trying to look in here. Would that be underneath the cover? Or would that be internal? I don't know. I don't know how you'd even change that. I'm not a knife maker. I don't know. But it would be pretty cool to see one of these taken apart. And I imagine at some point James will put a video out showing you how to take it apart, or Fabry, or one of those guys. I'm not that capable. So just staying in my lane, as they say. Just really, really cool. You do have the Scott Cook logo on this side with S90V. Looks really good too, right? Really, really good. Sorry, the camera is freaking out. Maybe I'll bounce it like that. So, you know, always cool to see that logo, and it's just subtle. It doesn't have to be loud, just subtle. Size-wise, let's get the Cybertruck stacked up to compare with a couple others here, and see what we got. So, let's grab my Quantum. Let's grab a Stellar. Where's my Stellar? There's a Stellar. Okay. Fair sizes, right? Both big guys. You know, definitely about the same size as a Quantum. Maybe actually a little shorter now that I'm looking at this. And remember, the camera kind of adds 10 pounds to the bottom. So anyway, there's that. We'll grab my Neon. Where are you? Move that down. Okay, we'll grab the Neon. The Neon is definitely not as thick or as long. But you know what? It's not the size, it's how you use it, I'm told. So there you go. And then we'll grab a couple collab pieces here. So, where's my cami? My cami. Grab that. There you go. Nice medium size. We'll grab the Russian Overkill. On point with the Russian Lochsa. That's pretty cool. And just add perspective, right? It always makes it look bigger down below. I would say this is more in tune with the actual size. Okay. We've got our Dr. Death. There you go. Also a collaboration piece. Harder to find those full-tie Dr. Deaths nowadays. I've got an F95 custom division here. Also very cool. Lovely size. Lovely, lovely size. And I was thinking about maybe pulling this guy out. I've got a MIDI cue here, so maybe show that as well. I have not done a video of this knife either, but I did a video on the MIDI cue SR Sprint Run, and there's your MIDI cue custom division. Beautiful, beautiful knife. Definitely a different league for Shirogorov. Just the overall lines of that knife are absolutely incredible, and I will do a quick preview to show this knife because it's stunning. Beautiful double roll, or not double roll, single roll roller bearing action, huge lightning streak down the middle with nice blue stonewash pops. You've got that Shirogorov bear down in the corner there. Everything that the Sprint Run does, it does absolutely well. And just different, right? You've got the Pierce Fuller. You've got the handle that's kind of see-through there on both sides. Got the window, right? Gorgeous blade. At some point this will get a review, and obviously it's got that cool pocket clip swivel. Another gorgeous knife from Shirogorov. So I've completely forgotten that I had this and need to do a video on that one ASAP. And sorry, I shouldn't say I forgot. I was just too excited with the Lochsa to get too excited. So anyway, there's your size comparisons between some Neons, some Quantums, some F95s, some Stellars, and now the medium-sized MIDI. How does it compare to like let's grab a large Sabenza, just because everybody knows what the large Sabenza is, and when I have a new knife like this, a new design, a large Sabenza is just a great comparison because it's just, everybody kind of knows the size of that. So there you go. If you're scared of the Cybertruck Coke bottle Lochsa, at least this shouldn't kind of scare you too much. It's a good size. You know, full size, but at the same time, it's built like a tank. And that's kind of why I'm going the Cybertruck route, I guess. Because they tend to be built like tanks. Until they touch water. If we look at the actual knife, we've got milling literally all over the place. And I don't know if the camera's going to really pick this up because it's like freaking out because of the light. I film these in front of a window here, and as the light changes, so does my camera. But anyway, we've kind of got these kind of vertical milling that's kind of left to right stacked, and I'm assuming that's how they get the shaping of the profiling of that handle and that nice big pinch in the middle back here. So vertical lines there. We've kind of got a stonewash top with no lines. Kind of these angles here. Then that bevel, same kind of thing there. On the actual covers, we've got another vertical milling, but it looks like it kind of increases in diameter as we kind of go down it. So that's a nice little touch. A very nice little touch. Same thing on the other side. When I saw photos of this, I thought that pivot was sticking out, but look at it. It really doesn't. The pivot's actually like kind of countersunk down. That bolt, I don't know if that's easy to show or not, but look at the screw head. How countersunk down it is. It's almost non-existent. In itself, it's also contoured. If you're looking at those covers, how can I show this? There, you can see it there. They are contoured and beveled. Okay. As we go around, hopefully you can see that. If you're watching in 4K, hopefully, but you can kind of see it kind of starts flush. It is raised a little bit because it is a cover, but it kind of starts flush-ish and then expands kind of outward and raises off of the profile. So I don't know how that is supposed to be kind of in hand-wise because your fingers don't really touch the far end of this, but gorgeous fit in hand. On the blade itself, as you can kind of see, we've got no jimping. We've got a nice little angled edge here that your finger kind of falls into, and it really makes it so you don't want to push too far past that. So you're not really going to want to go up there. The spine of it is just pinched in too much there. Okay? But if you want to go past it, it's flat all the way down to the tip. So very usable back end of the knife. If you wanted to get in there for fine cuts, it would be quite comfortable. Blade stock wise, I have no clue how thick this is, and I keep telling myself I need to get like, some Amazon calipers, but I'm assuming, that's got to be that 3.5 mil range. It's got some width to it. It's good. It's a durable design. Oh, just love it. Just snaps home too. On the clip, as you can see, as we always see, they usually just match the back spacer with the clip, and in this case, well, we've kind of just got a standard stonewash vibe on that clip. Nothing too crazy, but you can see there is quite a bit of detail work on the milling lines. I don't know if you can kind of see. We've got this back section here. We've kind of got that angled front part of the clip, and then another milled angle on the entrance there. So a lot going on for a clip that from the outside just looks like a square edge piece of titanium. There's a lot of angle work done on there. And I mentioned this earlier, but how you kind of attach it is done internally, and it is hidden from that lanyard hole, which like I said earlier, super cool, and I could talk about that all day. Maybe this looks a little better from this angle, kind of showing that the edge work on it. Very sharp edge work, very sharp angles, right? And then underneath, same kind of thing, you've kind of got this little cutout on the clip as well, where you're seeing just that Shirogorov touch that they do on both sides. So you're not going to be cutting your jeans, etc. And overall, once again, hard angles on the lock bar. You've got really tight vertical lines kind of throughout. And I do apologize. Big light plus fingerprints. Obviously there's some oil on this one, but like I said, this one's mine. It's not going anywhere. I have no one to impress. It will be a bit of a fingerprint magnet, but I'm telling you, the people that are going to get these are going to want to carry. They're going to want to carry them because they're workhorses. They just look so well done all the way around. Now I am actively trying to bring more of these in to get them, to build a bit of a history on the site. As much it is fun to kind of have some stuff available, it's also nice to kind of build a bit of a library of some of the knives that have come through. So I will try to source a couple more of these. So if there is interest, drop me a line and I'll see what I can do. Market value wise, this is filmed kind of early November 2024, so by the time you're watching this, I don't know when it'll be. Could be a year later. But at the time of launch, like I said, I think they're around 2,500 US table, which is more than a custom division. And I could easily see them, geez, 5.5, 6K, kind of holding steady in that, just based on the production availability, the demand for the lottery, and the fact that, you know, if you look back at like some of the old, you know, like Cordinals, for example, a cord, Shirogorov cord, they're still going for $6,000, right? Those were tabled at like what, $1,300? So, you know, the right knife certainly goes for over custom division money, let alone ones that actually cost more than custom division. That I'm assuming will go for custom division money. And you look at like a CDX, they made 100 of those, or are making currently 100 of those, and they're still, you know, I've seen them go for 7,000. So I know I shouldn't go down this road, but like I know that a lot of people were pretty upset about the lottery and all this stuff. I just simply think the fact on that is like there's not many of them. The demand's so high, half the batch is going overseas. So, you know, what's that? 20 knives, 25 knives left in North America. So, kind of is what it is. Demand's high. They'll start popping up. I'm certain of it. They'll start popping up. But value-wise, they're going nuts. People are on opening day. I saw in search ofs for over 7,000 US, which is just crazy. Or I shouldn't say crazy. It's what the market's willing to pay, which is a different conversation. Because now you're kind of tiptoeing closer and closer to that full custom. Like you're 10, 12,000. You're kind of getting into that custom territory. So I'd be curious to know what the custom versions of these as a prototype will go for. Because I would love to see this thing on double row roller bearings. Oh my gosh. That would be crazy. Absolutely crazy. It's a good looking knife though, eh? So I've compared it with the F95s, the Quantums, the Neons, the Stellars, some of the special editions that I have beside me. Where do I see this knife going over the next couple years? I see it being a very high demand knife, probably for the next 12 months. I see it being difficult to get because every single person that I have talked to about this knife, they're like, and myself included, you know, I talk to myself, obviously. I'm putting one of these away. You know, I'm going to start using this knife right here as one that's going to be, comparison on the channel. I think it's cool to have a Scott Cook. I don't have a Scott Cook, and I've wanted to get one for a few years now. They're hard to get. They're expensive. They're unique action-wise. Like 100 knives would be, I don't even know how many years of Scott making knives. It'd be a lot. 3, 4, 5. So, they're going to be in demand, and it's sometimes just the right collaboration piece hits and does really, really well. And sometimes they don't, but you can tell right away. You know, a lottery system that's got the most entries in a long time or ever, and low quantity available, you know, it's the right knife. And it's a gorgeous, and rightfully so, because, it definitely ticks all the boxes. And if you're able to get one, if you won one in the lottery, congratulations. I bet you're not selling it. Because I've approached people who have won it in the lottery trying to buy it. And they don't want to let go of them. So it's you can only do so much sometimes. But overall, gorgeous piece. You know, the people that are probably wondering, like, okay, a flipper on phosphor bronze, is that a letdown? What is that? It's a little worrisome when I first saw it, but you know, now that I've got one in hand, I wouldn't worry about it. It feels great. And if you remember a few years back, Shirogorov did an F95 10th anniversary piece. That was actually on bearing, or on washers, phosphor bronze washers. Had an adjustable system on it. But if you remember, that knife was on washers. So try not to forget that. They've done it before. Some of the early F95s were all on washers, so this is not something they haven't done in the past. But now they're adding a little refinement to it with that bushing system, and putting it into an integral, which is a whole other conversation. Just gorgeous knife. Ah, man. You know, it's pretty rare. I would say like the recent MIDI Qs, they're right up there with knives that you just don't want to part with. I think that that custom division MIDI Q, that sprint run MIDI Q, they're just done so well and so unique. And the size, like the market has just been asking for those medium-sized custom knives, custom division knives for so long, and they're finally doing them. You know, the demand on those too is just nuts, like just nuts. And you know, Shiro's trying to do more. They're trying to do 100 batch releases of the custom division, I believe now. So hopefully that price drives down a little bit over the next few years. But the demand is just so high. It's tough. It's tough to keep up. Gorgeous knife. So I don't know what else. I don't know really what else I can talk about. Like milling wise, it's a beautifully done knife. We've talked about that. You know, the ergonomics is super beautiful and comfortable in hand. That lock bar, I talked about the milling, but more than anything, it's raised on the one side. And I'll grab my Hattie that I usually try to show this with, my F95, on their frame locks. You can see how the lock bar is actually raised, right? Just fit in hand. It's just comfortable. It's comfortable, and I don't know if the Scott Cooks are the same way, if that's a Shiro thing. I'm assuming it's the same on a Scott Cook, but I could be wrong. But the milling itself is just stunningly beautiful, and it's just comfortable to find. No sharp edges, but it's an integral, and integrals tend to have sharp edges. Like, it's hard to do all that work on an integral, and if you've had a Rosenti in your hand, you'll know what I'm talking about. They feel sharp in hand. This doesn't. This feels fine, like refined, very refined. And they took their time on it, and they did it right. You know, they really did. And I'm just looking now, even the lock bar has bevels on it, and maybe I didn't see that before, but even the lock bar is beveled on the inside. Like, just details like this you don't see on integrals all over the place. They just tend to cut a line, and that's it. They didn't have to do that. That Shiro Bear, just so proud. And the fact that it's S90V. We've talked very little about the material choice of being S90V. The fact that it's S90V, I've heard is Sergei's favorite steel. And so it just makes sense. Now, I don't know, like I said, I'm not a connoisseur of Scott Cook knives. I don't know what steels he typically uses. I'm sure if I Googled for 5 seconds, I could figure that out. If S90V is a good fit there. Maybe he's a MagnaCut guy. I don't know. But, you know, being called the Russian Lochsa, I think that, you know, you've got to go S90V. You really do. I was a little worried if they did MagnaCut because it just takes away from that, the Russian side of it, you know. And the Russian side of it is the flipper tab, right? Because that's what Shiro does. They do, with a few exceptions, most of their knives are flipper tabs. And like, how sick does that flipper? It looks like a little mohawk. Nicely pronounced. I'm curious to know how that will work in pocket, but you know, nicely pronounced, comfortable. Back of the pivot. You know, not a hard angle, just comfortable, and then just boom, beautiful. Pops right out. No issues there. Very gorgeous. No jimping either. It's another odd choice, but that must be the design of Scott Cook. That must be the Lochsa thing. Right? Now, is there anything else I've missed on this? I don't want to have to refilm sections of this. I like to kind of go through it in one go. But I think I've got everything. Trying to think if there's anything else here. I talked about the lock bar, talked about the And these are, I'm just going through this as I'm kind of figuring it out more than anything, with a little detail of that Shiro release that they put up. I'd love to see what this thing looks like inside behind these covers, and how that kind of all comes together. And we didn't really even touch on this either, but is this not a cool like mini duck foot? You know, like the full customs have the duck foot, right? And this is kind of like a little baby version of one. I think that's cool. Didn't have to do that. And it's probably practical for something. I don't know, maybe there's a tool that pushes in there and you kind of take it all together. I don't know if there's a captive pivot under. I don't know. I haven't seen it. But to me, that looks sick. That's a Shirogorov kind of almost full custom vibe to it, but in a collaboration special edition piece. Oh, and I didn't even mention this. The blade is obviously mirrored on the bottom, the edge. It's kind of got a mirror polish to it. Always a nice touch. Just pops quite nicely. So, gorgeous. Gorgeous. What else? I talked about the fit in hand. I will show one more time just in case. I've got an extra large glove hand size, and I've got room for another finger. But in hand, it feels, because my grip, because of that milling, it feels thinner in the back than the front, which is good because, you know, it's more ergonomic that way, and you've really got good perch, honestly. But definitely, you notice that right away, and it kind of takes away the width while adding that clip in your hand. No hot spots, just gorgeous. Feels absolutely freaking solid in hand, unlike anything that I've had for Shirogorov. Completely different. Just a completely different look and feel of a knife. And a collaboration that's certainly worth the money. That's, you know, who knows what they're going to be asking for this on the secondary when they start popping up. But you know what? You know, even 6, 7, like, people are going to pay that. I think early on, they're going to pay that, no problem. It's going to be worth it, because it's just such a unique knife, such a unique experience, and the fact that the Scott Cook stuff in itself is going for that price already, and then you add some Shiro flair to it, and some flipper tab, and some cool technology, and some hidden clip stuff. Like, it's just cool. It is a cool knife, and highly collectible. I know that already. It's going to be collectible because I want one. So there you go. That is the Shirogorov Russian Lochsa collaboration, special edition, whatever you want to call it, from Shiro and Scott Cook, and in S90V. Gorgeous knife. Get them while you can. They're going to be hot, or they are hot right now. They released it a few days ago, and I've been trying and scurrying to get my mitts on them, which is why this video is a little late. But beautiful knives. And I think, if I remember correctly, I'm trying to think, where did they do the little teaser? Was it up here? I'm trying to, like, the Shiro, when Shiro does their little teaser photo, I think it was up here. Or was it down here? No, it must have been up here somewhere. But maybe they didn't have the knife in it. Maybe they didn't have the blade mounted. Maybe it's just like right here they took that picture. I always try to figure out where they're taking those cool pictures. And, you know, for me, the money spot on this is just this lock bar. That is stunning inside here. That is custom division milling. The whole knife is just custom division milling everywhere. It's just ridiculous. The contouring, the angles, the bevels, the cap, the bushing system. Like I said, I want to see what that bushing system looks like. I really do. I want to see how they kind of put it all together. Could be more simple than I think it is, but I have a feeling it's a little more technical than what I'm thinking. And then for anybody asking how much lockup on that blade, there you go. This is what a new one is currently looking at. So just for food for thought. I have no idea how long this video is. I've had to kind of start and stop with a couple interruptions as I've been filming it, but hopefully it was enjoyable. Hopefully you got to experience the knife itself, and either you're leaving this excited if you're continuing, or you're, just a looky-loo like me that loves to watch all the videos and learn about the technology and see how Shirogorov did it. If I'm a manufacturer, I'm probably going to want one of these to see if they, see how they put it together. I think that would be kind of interesting. In modern equipment, it's always cool to see. Oh, that sound on this is just click. So beautiful. So beautiful. Alright guys, well I think I need to end it there. My camera's freaking out battery-wise, so I appreciate you guys stopping by and appreciate you checking out the video, seeing the knife, talking about it. Like I said, I'm going to try to bring more of these in, hit them on the site, build my library up a little bit on it, and if there is interest, let me know. I can see what I can find. And oh, by the way, it comes with this little leather cord. Don't know if it's leather or pleather or what, but it has a cool bead. Or no cool bead. It has a cool braid on it. Didn't mention that. There you go. That is the Russian Lochsa from Shirogorov and Scott Cook in collaboration. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.